Welcome back now. As you all know, I want to believe you all know that Nigeria turned 54 on Wednesday, October 1st, and a lot has been said about what Mr. President's speech did offer that day. He said a lot about, things he did promise on October 1st, 2013, and how much has been done between then and now. And we're going to be talking about Nigeria 54 and what has happened in the last 1 year. I have here with me Joaquin Makebong. Thanks for being here today as usual, and of course, Dr. Hassan. Thanks for coming. Let's start with something that has been quite controversial. I actually want to go with that since we talked politics in the last segment. With this tussle between the PDP and the APC over who got Nigeria Ebola free. Why is that an issue? Why is everything so politicized?
Well, it's an issue because it's one of the few times in the last several years where you have people actually doing the jobs they are supposed to do. Nigeria is nowhere near what we would like it to be. But I think that in handling the Ebola crisis that we had a state actually work the way it could work. We saw how people could do their jobs. Nigeria could be a lot worse than it is. We could be Liberia. Mm-hmm. Because the truth is, some countries in the world are really simply empty shells. They don't have much beyond capitals and people who are supposed to be cabinet ministers. When you go outside them, there's no government to speak of. So you have people who actually did their jobs here, and it's a success story. And so naturally, everybody is trying to lay claim to that. Yeah. There is nothing wrong with it necessarily because it's part of politics. That's how people do. But what Fashola did in his own speech, where he actually named names of people who were on the ground, is what should have been done. Yeah. You can talk about PDP, you can talk about APC, but PDP and APC were not the people who were first responders. PDP and APC did not go about looking for primary and secondary contacts. PDP and APC did not go about constructing isolation centers. Yeah. So that is where you have to draw the line between politics and
to be fair to Mr. President, I want to believe you listened to the speech on October 1. I don't think he necessarily said, I defeated Ebola. He was commending Nigerians and how his government involves everybody, I want to believe. I don't think he was particularly laying claim to that. And people took serious offense to that in his speech.
Well, he didn't necessarily say that his government did it. However, he attributed part of the success to efforts that he inputted. Yeah. It was noted that, like he pointed out, Lagos State, they were first responders. Then the Lagos State government got involved. The federal government promised to assist Lagos with funds. However, it didn't come until after the epidemic had been contained. So him even attributing any aspect of success, because you hear them say, oh, we defeated Ebola. You understand? Yeah. That is like, we did it without their having direct contribution in the whole process. Yeah.
Let's talk security now, and I think is the one thing that you can almost not see an improvement in, whether you like it or not, since the last independence celebration to now, if things haven't even gotten worse. I don't think we had 200 girls missing as at October 1, 2013. So with security, how has it done?
Again, it depends on what area of the country you want to look at. The issue of oil theft, for example, continues, even though we don't hear a lot about it right now, but it still continues, and we are still losing revenue on that front. In the South, the issue in the Northeast has gotten worse. At a point, it seemed like as terrorists were picking up towns here and there, but then they've been pushed back a little bit now. Other areas of the country, you can't really say that there has been a marked change in how secure Nigerians are or how secure Nigerians feel, and this is a major problem, because part of why a state exists is that it's supposed to have a monopoly of violence. Without being sure that the state can control its territory, control its borders, you always want to have lingering questions about all sorts of things. But I think that they are getting a bit more serious now, and I also think that the media can play a role in the way they report some of the action that goes on from there, because you don't want to become a vehicle for terrorists to make their pronouncements. Yeah. You don't want to become an unwitting accomplice in promoting terrorism and messages of terror. So the media aspect is also there because it's a real concern. This is not about patriotism or whatever. It's simply that you don't want terrorists who obviously want publicity to use your medium as a means to get it.
Yeah. So when you hear, I mean, we've heard in the past, we've heard a lot of things. We did hear Mr. President say at one time that members of the Boko Haram were in his government or something along those lines. We've also heard, I think it was a spokesperson for the defense ministry who said they knew where the girls were, but they didn't want to go in yet. We've had a few girls who have escaped, and they should have gotten information, to help security. And with all of these things in mind, it kind of looks like, okay, they know what's happening, but why are we not winning? If you know what I mean, what is wrong there?
Winning, because it's funny you should talk about security and then this issue of Boko Haram as first. The Ibrahim Index, or African government, recently rated Nigeria very poorly in terms of governance. The average, we scored way below the average. And where we did the worst was safety and the rule of law, where we were like very close to the bottom third in Africa. That's the general indication of how the problems of security, safety, etc. has deteriorated over time. Now you've got a situation where, like you say, they say they know where the girls are, but they can't go and get them because of collateral damage. Yeah. Then sometimes they might say they never said, because they say one thing one second, they say something else another second. Yeah, they've spoken about the issue of lack of equipment. The mutineering soldiers complain about conditions of service. So you can infer that morale is low. You could infer that generally the attitude in the military is like they can't take these people on head on. So based on that is why I would feel that they can't win unless they are ready to go over that particular hurdle.
Let's move on now to other things now. Something that he did promise in the last speech, of course, was a national conference, which eventually did hold. Yeah. And they've done all of that to compile their reports. Is this something, a lot of Nigerians are not sure how to receive, the fact that we had a national conference that was pretty well representative of diverse sectors of Nigeria, both professionally and tribally and religious and all of that. And what are we supposed to be expecting from that? Elections are coming. Are we going to be using any of that report anytime soon? The National Assembly, of course, still has to. Are we going to have a referendum? We don't know what's going to happen with that.
You see, you can't talk about a national conference without looking at its antecedents of similar efforts in the past. Obasanjo did something like that. It didn't come to fruition. The very famous one was the one by Babangida. Babangida's what's the word now? There's a particular name he gave it. Anyway, there were about 17 of them, and they had entries from all across the country about how to move the nation forward. That was 1986. So the name was Political Bureau, RBB's Political Bureau, 1986. So they had a lot of those entries from all across the country about how to move the nation forward, this and that. There were 17 of them. There was a lot of, fanfare and everything. Eventually, it came to nothing. So historically, the chances of any of that report being implemented by way of referendum or anything else is not good. Yeah, it's not good, and so that is the context in which I view it. It may be used later after the elections. I don't know, but right now, historically, the chances are not really good. No.
Is there anything from the reports or the Continental Conference that you noticed that excited you? State creation, for example, was that something that you thought was a good idea? We had about 18 more states might be coming up.
Yeah, and then there's always the issue of resource control.
Yeah, resource control.
Resource control is a massive deal. That was always.
Was that when they had they had issues with voting and all of that? But yeah, go on.
Yeah. So the national conference, by having it, the president tried. He said he'd do something, and he went ahead despite all opposition and all that. What he does with the recommendations from the national conference is what we want to see. He could have seized an opportunity even before the elections to show that, okay, these are good recommendations that we want to move the country forward. And this is what I suggest. But so far, all we've known is that the focus is on politicking and what comes next, and not what that was about. So we wait and see if all the good ideas and the bad ones that came up during then are given the light of day or not.